5, 6, 7.
Yeah, look up, please. Everybody put your phone away now. You're fine. Yeah, again, it doesn't bother me when I'm distributing, so I just want to start talking. Okay, a couple things. It's a little weird to have a test on Halloween, but here's the problem. I don't really think you'd want to take it on Monday, because that means you have one less day to prepare, one less class day. I can't postpone it until Friday because that puts the B-Day test cleared till the next Monday, and we just have to stay on schedule for the AP test. So apologize that it fell that way this year, but this is the way it fell. So the test is next week. The assignment, I'm going to do a bunch of these in class. The assignment today is don't worry about the ones at the top. They're all just review problems, but with the pink and blue, the yellow and blue quiz that you did last week, that was plenty of review, to be honest, so don't feel like you need to do more. So the assignment is just 21 through 36 at the bottom. We'll do about almost half of them in class today. So the other assignment for next time Thursday is to help you make sure you're ready for the test. We'll do a quiz on this. So the quiz is really simple. I will give you a blank sheet. Looks just like this, and it just has the names. Power rule, E rule, etc. And you just have to reproduce the sheet. Next time, Thursday. So the quiz is on Thursday next time. So make sure you're really getting ready for the test, which is next week. Yeah, I either whatever works best for you. So. Questions? Cool. A couple of things. On the tangent rule, you do have to memorize both versions because the AP test will test you on both versions. For the chain rule, you don't have to write the dx over dx. That's equal to 1. So you can just ignore that. For the constant rule, you don't need to write both versions. One version of the constant rule is fine. Either one is fine. Same thing on the addition rule. You don't need to write both versions. So questions about the quiz on Thursday. Awesome. Okay, please write number 21 on your paper. So write down number 21 on your notebook. Okay, all eyes on me now. There are no new rules to learn today. We've gone through every rule on the blue sheet. There's nothing new to learn. The goal is still the same. The goal is to have an equation. This is just some relation. If you were to use a computer, you could get a graph of this. Okay. We want a formula for finding the tangent slope of this particular formula at any point. So the process is identical to what you've been doing on every homework this unit. You take the derivative of both sides. You use the exact same rules you've been using. So there's nothing new so far. Questions? same thing, just keep applying the rules. So this is simply 3. Here's something new. If you use the constant rule here, you would pull out the 2, and you'd be left with dy over dx. So dy over dx is not equal to 1, so you have to write down dy over dx. Questions to that? Awesome. Here I can use the constant and the power rule together. So 3 times 3 is 9. And I would have y. The new exponent would be 2. And I'd still multiply by, this time, dy over dx instead of dx over dx. Questions? Okay. Here's where the problem is different than what you've done before. Usually when you take the derivative of both sides, you end up with dy dx equals stuff. Now the dy dx is kind of scattered throughout. You just have to isolate it. You want to rearrange the equation so that it says dy dx equals. It's a little bit cumbersome to keep writing dy over dx. So instead I'll use the abbreviated version, y prime. Y prime and dy dx mean the same thing. It's just a little easier to write. Move the 3 to the other side of the equation. Factor out a y prime. It's 2. Questions to there?
So you leave it there when you have to move it to the other side.
So now you have to move it. No, good question, Danny. So we divide both sides. Now we have an equation for y prime. So the end result looks just like the end result of every other homework in this unit, except that our equation for y prime now can contain a y variable as well as an x variable. This is known as implicit differentiation. I don't recall them ever testing you on the word, but if you try and find examples online for whatever reason, this is known as implicit differentiation. Question? Oh, please, Cass.
So we can't isolate the y before we take the derivative?
Outstanding. 2 points. There's nothing illegal about trying to isolate the y, but I would say in 95% of the problems they give you an equation for which it's not easy at all to isolate the y. So it's better to not even try. I don't recall any AP questions where they give me an equation where x and y are all mixed, and they say to find the derivative. I don't ever try to isolate the y. Just take the derivative of both sides, then isolate the y prime. Good question. Anybody else? Awesome. Please write. No. 22 on your notebook. Everybody do 22? Go. Stop me if you have a question. questions from anyone about anything? Awesome. Do 23, please. Go. Questions? Anything bothering anybody? Cool. It should feel like the same thing you've been doing with, really the only extra step is the algebra at the end to isolate the y prime. So, going in order, 24, go. Okay, so I start out the same way. I take the derivative of both sides. I use the addition rule first. So the derivative of 3x is just 3. Constant and power rule here gives me 15. The new exponent on y would be squared. And then we'd have dy dx, which is just y prime. And then I'll show the last thing here in a second. Anyone having any questions to hear? Okay. Here you've got a situation where you have to use the product rule. Because you have x squared multiplied by y. Brennan, please.
Do you have to put the whole thing over d of x, or did you just put the d, like on the first
Up here.
Yeah.
A couple different ways you can write that, I guess. You can do this if you want. Like that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just didn't know if you need to have the other words.
You're good at 2 points. So using the product rule, this would become the second function multiplied by the derivative of the first, plus the first function multiplied by the derivative of the second. Camry, did that answer your question? There we go. Keep going. True. So you're right here, I believe. So did you get there? Okay. I want to get the y prime isolated. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things being added. So it's really like a kind of a simple algebra thing you've done years ago, where you've got like 3 plus, just making up some numbers here, 2x plus 5 plus 6x. Like, I just made up the green equation. But solving the green equation is identical to how I solved the blue equation.
You have to like move the other ones that don't have it to the other side.
Right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Follow-up question? So the point is, I don't think anyone in the room would have any trouble solving the green equation. The way we solve the blue is exactly the same. We're trying to isolate, like in the green you're trying to get the 2x alone, and the 6x, I'm trying to get these together. So you move these two first for that side. So I'm going to move this one and this one. So I'd end up with 15 y squared y prime plus x cubed y prime is equal to -3 minus 3x squared y. Questions? Then you factor.
the derivative of y next to 15y squared?
Right here.
Yeah.
So from here to here, all I did was move these two to the other side. So you good to here?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what I notice is 2 points for Drew. I've got this multiplied by y prime, this multiplied by y prime. So I can undistribute. So here's the y prime. If I were to distribute the y prime back, I'd go this times this is this. This times this is this one. Is that your question?
Yeah.
So I just factor it. So there you go. Solid. If this is making sense and you're not having trouble, this is an easy assignment today. Do 27, please. Go. One second. Oh, no big deal. So they have negative here, right? So this negative can be thought of as being on the top or the bottom, just not both. So if I were to put it on the bottom and then distribute, I'd have exactly what you're going to have. So it's the same. Cal? Yeah, you're okay. So it's not distribution, it's not this times this and this times this. It's just -5 multiplied by x multiplied by y. So what I would do is so first step's going to be the same. Using the addition rule, I'm going to get this. I'm going to use well, you have to use the product rule. You could use the constant rule first and factor out the -5. That's totally valid. My preference is to think of this as -5x multiplied by y. Either way is correct. So I take y multiplied by derivative of -5x plus -5x multiplied by the derivative of y. Does that make sense? This one is just, we've been practicing it, so it's 3 times 4 is 12. That becomes y squared, but I still have a dy dx. Like that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Questions from anyone? Yeah.
So you can just take out the -5 and then it'd be dxy, and that wouldn't simplify to like 1.
Correct. So if I take out the -5, I'll have -5 times y. But then I would only have dx over dx remaining, and that's equal to 1, so I just have -5y.
Yeah, but I'm saying on the step above that, if you just took out -5.
Oh, you can. Like I can do it this way. I think this is what you're saying. If not, we'll keep talking. But like I pull out the -5 first.
And then I'll just simplify to like -5y.
No. because this is d dx of x times y,
Okay.
so I would still need to use the product rule. So it would be negative 5 times the second function multiplied by the derivative of the first, plus the first function multiplied by the derivative of the second, like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This becomes 1, but this becomes x times y prime. And then you would distribute, so you have negative 5y minus 5xy prime, which is the same thing we're going to have here. So, 2 points for Kes. Questions from anyone else? Again, yeah, please, like.
Can we go over to 26?
Let me finish here, then we'll go right to that. You're good. Anybody else here? I'll do 26 in a second. Any questions here? Please.
So if it doesn't have a y prime, you can take out your decision to your side.
Yeah, the whole idea is to isolate the y prime, get y prime completely by itself. So right here I've got 1, 2, 3 things being added. One of them does not contain a y prime, so I simply add the 5y to the other side of the equation. 2 points for Sarai. questions on 26? Like,
I'm just confused because on the answer, it has it where you move the 6y, y prime to the other side, and then move the -5 to -5, and then do that, so you get a completely different answer.
so just read what they have. Like,
So their answer is -5 over -1 minus 6y.
like that.
Yeah.
Perfect. No worries. So here's what they've done. Think of it this way. If you have -1 over like that, the negative can be applied to the numerator, the denominator, but never both. So this could be rewritten as applied to the numerator, -1 over -2, which is the same thing as 1 over 2. Or if I apply the negative to the denominator, I'd have this, which is also just 1 over 2. So if I take the -1 here and apply it to the denominator, I'd have to distribute like that. So then I end up with the same thing. So they're exactly the same answer. As far as which is better, doesn't really matter. So does that make sense? 2 points. Other questions? Today's pretty straightforward. Lots of extra time actually to work on the homework. So just finish the homework, 1 through 36. Go.
You're right. Okay. And then I decided so then I had 2x 2y minus 10
So cool. So you're talking about dark matter. Tell us their
Is this your question? So you wouldn't check, how do you know which one's right? Oh, I'm going to just check because it's easier to move the back. That's why. But I don't like that very much. Why? I'm saying it's easier to move that. This is easier to move than that.
What's that?
So then you got 6x squared minus 2y. You have 2x, 2y.
Yeah,
It's
so yours has to be.
That's not easy. So then how does it work? This is 2. This is 2. Make 1, which is something else that makes. Yes, CD6 is these 2. You don't, I don't know if you have it.
Yeah, I think it's a thing amazing. Oh yeah. Oh my word.
I don't think you can times that. Because they're just on different things. It's different.
If you're having trouble with 34, 34 is on the board, but just call me over if it doesn't make sense, so.
This two would make that. So you want that, or just do one, two. Ask him why you can't combine those two, and ask him how do you know which ones to.
Try this. Yeah, let's talk about 2 currency. Oh, I see you now. I got you. So go ahead and practice.
Really this. Why?
So,
Yes. Please save me. What is not super common?
People like, yeah, wait, well, why won't anyone take me?
That would be, I'm pretty bad.
the 2 hours. So now we're doing this. Y squared.
I still
Bring
would.
down 2.
I want to get it.
Yeah. That's what it was. That's 4 instead of 2.
I want to get like a giant.
Thank you.
Don't I have? Yes, that's what I'm
Way bigger than me. Way bigger than
Now we're sitting.
Oh my gosh. Did I say purple jacket? That's like a knockoff.
because of
Yes, I'm trying to get the white time along.
what I want to ask you is,
What I did
in my reductions of like my constants, I'm going to do
this happened.
so I could have this two accounts, but this two
That
accounts.
maintains
This was my
quality.
answer.
Or both sides. But this 3 times this, so then I have
Oh, if they're times each other. You choose which one you choose. I just have to do the pink. I need to do it. I was so bad last I was so sick yesterday. I'm so surprised I didn't approach analysis. I got it out and then it was 10 problems. And I was like,
You did make a mistake here. So tell me what you were thinking so I can help you fix things a little bit. How did you go from here to here? True. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So we're trying to get the white pine by itself. So I want to get rid of this, and get rid of this. Right. You got just
oh, so Ellie.
don't distribute.
I know,
I never distribute unless I have to.
I feel but I'm thinking it's going to become 2 separate things. Yeah, so I'm going to have.
Hey guys.
Okay, so all they did is get their answer. Now you're doing really well. So what they do now is they do this. It's not back and like
No distraction. I don't know any other time for this. I just like how ominous it is.
and then they see what they get on I didn't know that. They didn't take the picture out because there was no wire. I'm sure the wire.
I just totally got this.
You all right?
No, I need to do my math. Or else I have to do it on
You get this. Let me get to a spot that I'm gonna try to work with.
That's me. My mom. That is gold. Nice. What about Jacob?
You checked the line at the start. I that's I just did the addition.
And I deleted it, but I'm still getting more.
Can you get a solitary?
Figured it out.
This that's a lot of or did I do the second one too fast?
I figured out.
Quiz on Thursday.
This right, Ellie? Oh, you asked me a question.
Oh my god.
Because it doesn't have a
used to be a girl in my ward when they was baby, and I didn't get to it every time I saw her. I don't think she got me. No, I told her. She's like, no. How far did you get?
I'll check it with you very much. I got 35. I don't know how you get a 9 on the bottom, but
Alright,
that's me.
sweet.
Alright.
And is there anything else I need to get before?
Stop by tomorrow.
And then,
If not, you can always go to the next.
November what?
oh yeah, just, I forget that it's like,
What about like actual steak? Why is it 2 days? How's it?
Did you have the first day of like this way? The last day? It sucks though, you live with 5 days after 6 days, which is nice, but you're going earlier, but it's
on Saturday.
last.
I'm sure like the last one.